io muoio da partigiano. Oh, vela ciao, vela ciao, vela ciao, ciao, ciao. E se io muoio...
Hola, konnichiwa, and all of the motherfucks.
Ho, ho, ho.
Hoo-hoo. La Casa de Papel. Oti.
Oh,
You feeling a tingle?
oh, the tingles are all mine, mate.
This show is unprecedented. All of the feelings, all of the tinglings, and all of the holes. We will not be doing your phrase or mine because everyone can shove it up their happy places.
Oh, for sure.
Oh, fucking hell. We love Money Heist. We're literally a Money Heist podcast, but we just cover other stuff in the meantime.
Yeah.
So this cute little section is called a reference heist. So yes, this show is great and it is very international, but it also means a lot to our podcast. It was our 7th episode that we did. So it was within our first 10 episodes, and I'm almost sure it was our first foreign language
Yes,
that
it was.
we've done on this podcast. It's also the first TV show that we've covered twice in 1 year.
Yeah.
It also made the most beloved of appearances at the first annual Splooshies Awards. It won the Pardon the Pun tier for How Dare You Surprise Me with So Much Quality. Well, there's really not much else to say. We're super excited. El Profesor, or if you tuned into the Splooshies, LOT Professor, will urge you to listen to our original Money Heist episode and also the Money Heist that covers part 3. Money Heist La Casa de Papel is also our most listened to episodes ever.
Yes.
Both 1 and 2.
And it's pulling listeners all over the world.
It really is. We're literally assembling, the next crew for the heist, but not in a Rick and Morty way. Because gathering members for this heist is muy caliente, mucho delicioso.
Exactly. Couldn't have put it better.
As I live and breathe, you son of a bitch. Let's get on with the show. Hey friends and lovers, or shall I say hola, welcome to the For Your Reference podcast. I am your ever-eternal host, KT Nairobi.
And I am Oti Olapuangos. That's a city in Katie's hometown.
Damn, dog. You feeling that fuego?
I'm feeling the fuego, mate.
It's too much queso for me, actually. Welcome to this momentous episode in the For Your Reference household. Fuck me 3 times all around the world for another heist OT. Wow. And we know there are quite a lot of listeners that listen to Money Heist, and I don't think a lot of them are our compadres in podcasting. I think Money Heist pulls a lot of listeners that maybe never even knew our podcast existed, and they just needed some more La Casa de Papels.
Yeah.
Right?
Who doesn't need some more Denver in their system?
Right? So if you are here because you stumbled across our Money Heist episodes and now you have made it to crescendo to our 3rd episode covering part 4, you are most welcome. And I don't know how to say Jupiter's cock in Spanish. Feel free to help.
Yeah.
We all need a little bit of help. So for a full breakdown, listen to our first episode, and we're really just going to get into it.
Yeah.
Right? This is an advanced class. It's not elementary, dear OT. We are coming with our cojones. So let's talk about where part 3 left off. So the big sort of emotional pull that we had was the despicable Alicia, who accolades. I definitely want to talk about her character a bit more because we didn't really get to talk about her in the last podcast, but she pretty much orchestrated a very manipulative play against the gang in way through Nairobi. and they brought Nairobi's kid there. Spoiler, but again, come along for the fucking ride because it is wild.
While it is.
There's no Tiger Kings, but I can assure you it is way more pleasurable in every other sense. There is no Carol Baskins.
No Carol Baskins. So you're all safe.
But if you're lucky, OT might drop his country tracks. But it essentially the most sort of emotion that we had at the end of part 3 was Nairobi getting shot. What I guess I just wanted to color a little bit more was her past. She dealt drugs and she also took drugs, or did she just take drugs? I think she did both.
I think she was dealing drugs.
I think she got high off her own supply. Well, in any case, while she was doing what she had to be doing, her kid got intercepted from family services or whatever the equivalent is. So that's some painful shit, right?
It is painful
Having
shit.
your kid taken away from you. It seemed like Nairobi was really well-to-do on her own. No Tyler Perry, thank you. And she really just tried to make a living for her kid, right?
Yeah.
So that was quite a big sort of foundation for her character. That she felt hollow and so much guilt, and that's another reason why I fucking hate Tokyo, because she used that against Nairobi, and don't you ever forget that, OT.
Yeah.
But yes, so Nairobi gets shot, and it brings this emotional pull to the show. We talk a lot in our podcast about, writers and creators choosing moments, choosing characters that you care enough about, so there's emotional payoff. And we saw that, spoiler, we saw that with Moscow. Pour some sip on the concrete, also for Moscow and Harambe, and also for Oslo as well. And then we also see that potentially with Nairobi. I also forgot to mention, because obviously Nairobi means a lot more to me, but at the end of part 3, we also had El Profesor under the impression that Raquel
is dead.
Yeah. I don't really call her Lisbon. I also don't call Monica Stockholm.
Because they're the new additions?
Well, they haven't even earned their names either.
Well, Monica sort of has. We're yet to see what Lisbon does.
Well, I think she's done it, and that's all she's done.
No, well, at the end of this, sorry, I'm jumping all the way to the end, but at the end of this, we kind of see Lisbon joining the crew. So I'm hoping that the next season we get to see more of what she can do for the crew while everyone's just losing their heads.
Yeah, and the fact that there's going to be another season is a qualm I have. But let's leave that for a second. So if we're just talking about the way that part 3 ended, we have El Profesor in the woods. He fell down like a koala that fell off a tree, and he thinks Raquel is dead. And then I don't remember. At part 3, we didn't know that she was alive.
No, we did know she was alive.
Oh, we did know?
We did know she was alive.
Okay.
We just didn't, Professor just didn't know she was. The rest of us were in on it.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah. OT.
Yeah.
What would be your name? You can't take Nairobi.
Oh, I can't take Nairobi, can I? It would be...
You want to be Lagos?
Yes, I'm your Nigerian prince.
We got OT Burner Boy over here. But yeah, it really ended on a lot of excitement. There was a lot of build up and there was a lot of tension at the end of part 3, and you were just waiting. For some reason, where we were in an illusion, even though we knew it was picked up from Netflix and that's where part 3 came from, for some reason we thought that was going to be it. But it was very clear. I think maybe 2 episodes before the ending of part 3, we knew that it was going to be nothing's going to be resolved in here. So that kind of got a bit annoying with me. But if you've listened to, especially our Black Mirror episode, it's just a foundational qualm that I have with the Netflix sort of model. But anyway, we'll get into that. But yeah, part 3 really ended on something very, very promising. Although I will say, and obviously we have a whole episode on part 3, I will say I didn't feel the same sensations as I did watching, you can call it part 1 and part 2, but initially it was just supposed to be those episodes, the Spanish series, just that.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't feel the same way. And I get it, like in life, it's not the same as your first sort of thrill. But I guess it's just important to keep in mind that with part 3, as much as I loved it, as much as I love seeing, all of our friends and lovers in the Money Heist world, it wasn't the same.
No.
And I think a lot of that had to do with the music for me.
Oh.
What Bella Ciao did for La Casa de Papel, I can't, and feel free, OT, if you can think of it during this recording, of a song that was so ingrained with the show that really catapulted its notoriety.
Yeah, I can't think of a song out of the top of my head, but wow.
How about the bottom of your ass?
Oh, a couple.
There are some delicious things that come out of there. But I won't spoil it for you. But yeah, it was so great. But what made, Bella Ciao so integral to La Casa de Papel was it was embedded throughout the whole season. There was symbolism. They were alluding to it. There were quotes of it. You had Moscow, digging out, as we know, he was a very learned miner.
Yeah.
And he was digging it out and he was singing. Tokyo and Denver came along, and then you had Berlin, and then you also have Berlin and El Profesor singing it. Like, it really had its own sort of presence in the series, and that's why Bella Ciao did so well. Going to part 3, I felt like and I said it in the episode, and the reason why I'm saying it is because I felt like they didn't learn their lesson. Part 3, the music was really disjointed. This is just me wanking myself off. I didn't care for the English songs in part 3. And they did that and more in part 4.
To a point where I think they also got Palermo to sing an English song. I was like, nah, mate.
And there were Italian songs as well. Yes or no, we're not learned, or we are learned enough to know the difference between Spanish and Italian. But it felt like every time they had an emotional or a pivotal scene, they try to whack a song in there. And that bothered me.
Yeah.
Because it was so effortless. And we still have the same creator. So, again, obviously there are some behind the scenes that we're not aware of. But yeah, I just felt like that was really a problem for me. Like when I enjoy stuff, music plays a big role in that. So yeah, that kind of bothered me. But let's just talk generally. Let's talk generally. How are you feeling at the end of part 3, and how are you feeling just throughout and at the end of part 4?
At the end of part 3, I had accepted that we'd see potentially another season, and I was fine with that.
Yep.
It's the characters that we love. We've invested so much time loving these people, fighting for the cause. So I was completely bought in, and I was like, okay, if Netflix are gonna do this, they're gonna do this properly. Cool. So at the end of season 4, I was left in some sort of dilemma, because throughout the whole sort of 4th season, or the 4th part, I didn't really enjoy it as much as I did the previous seasons.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, they had sort of built up this momentum in me. Then by the death of Nairobi, which, oh man, Nairobi's out. Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Who would have thought?
How dare they? Don't they know how much you support the show?
Yeah. I watched this specifically for Nairobi. Not necessarily the character, but
just the representation.
Just the representation, damn it.
Yeah.
But you could see when she died, and then everyone was just shouting Nairobi, Nairobi, and then the funeral, the sort of service that they had, sending the guards out with the casket. Oh, they just pulled in all the emotions from the build-up.
The service got me, because when we have the head of security,
Gandia,
may he rest in peace, but he was not there. Gandia.
All right, mate.
So when Nairobi got that headshot, I was like, well, I already had that emotional. You already tricked me the first time, with the teddy bear. of her getting shot. So that did nothing to me. But once they did the service and they were carrying the coffin out, tears everywhere.
Tears. But then again, you know.
It's not fair.
It's not fair, but throughout the whole episode, they had sort of played it as if, because the things that Nairobi went through this season, anyone would be crying to be killed by the end of it.
But we talked about this a lot, especially in the first Money Heist episode that we did. Nairobi was craving love, whether it was familial love, whether it was romantic love. She had a lot of holes in her foundation of love and affection.
Yeah.
Unfortunately. And, you know, even to the point where she knew Helsinki was gay, but she just wanted them to be together. You know what I mean? And it was sad. And you knew she wasn't going to have a normal life after the heist. Like, that was made very clear. Even when she started begging El Profesor for sperm, I thought that was a bit sad. I'm just like, I get that she's done a lot and no one else has her skill. I'm still trying to figure out what skills Tokyo has. But no one has Nairobi's skill, right? The forgery alone. So I get that she's valuable to the team, but I felt like El Profesor should have like set her straight a bit, because that is a behavior that you kind of want to nip in the bud.
I didn't see it like that. I saw it as, you know...
well, we know you foster babies just for fun.
Yeah, it's my sort of weekend activity. It's my hobby. Well, considering the sort of emotional trauma Nairobi has had to go through, and the fact that we've seen her at this point sort of accepting the fact that she will no longer be able to get her son because he's already got embedded in another family and possibly has a better life.
Oh, yes.
So she's sort of moved on from that. And that's the Nairobi we had in both part 1 and part 2. So there is some character development in that. Now she just wants to start her own family.
Yeah, but...
And in that, who better than Professor to be the sperm donor?
And I would just say this because we're talking about it in the context of a show, not in real life. But sometimes people have just, especially adults, sometimes adults have been going through too much shit. You just need to like reset in whatever way you can. I do appreciate the way that they played out the scene with her wearing the red dress.
Yeah.
Because the whole time we thought it was just, you know, memories and flashbacks, but it was actually a flash forward. Hello, Tay Dix. It was a flash forward where she's actually in the afterlife. Because at the time, because they're going back and forth and they're showing past events, you know, and we did see Moscow and we did see Oslo as well. You know, we just assumed that was just one of those scenes. Yeah. But oh man, there was a build up and there was a payoff when she was in that red dress and she finally died. And you see that her lying there and she's seeing everyone, and then Berlin welcomes her as well. Someone just punched me in the throat. I'm getting emotional again, but fuck, man. And that's the success and also potential failure of this show, because I care so much about these characters. So much so that probably OT more in particular, you give graces to where they fall short sometimes. You know, I'll be getting annoyed by how the writing's going, but I'm still fucking crying my eyes out because I care about these characters. And they did well to establish that very early. The buy-in was instant with this show.
Yeah. Yeah. It really was instant. And the fact that, you know what, I would give this, like, it would take a monumentous sort of effort for Netflix to fuck this show up completely.
Oh, yeah.
Just because of how much part 1, part 2, and to some extent part 3 did for this show. That part 4, it's not the strongest, but my God, it has the characters we love. And I was in for it.
Yeah, but you know what? And maybe it's just because I'm this sort of person. I always rewatch shit. So for me, if I want to see the characters again, I'll just watch it again. Don't continue the series if it's deteriorating in quality, because then, you know, sadly, slowly, I fall out of love with you. And I would prefer to have a love as vibrant as 100 Spanish suns.
I'm all out of love.
I'm so lost without tea. But what a series. What a series all round. The problem that I have with part 4 is we have held the banner for La Casa de Papel ever since we started this podcast. And if people, for whatever reason, start watching part 4, they'll be like, what the fuck are these people on about? You know what I mean? Like, I feel... but man, like part 1 and part 2, definitely. Part 3, just for fun. It bothers me that nothing really ramped up until the last 2 episodes of this 8-episode part. Because it was made quite clear that they were going, like, nothing. That's what bothered me. By the end of episode 6, we knew nothing was going to be resolved.
Yeah.
And we would have to wait another season.
Yeah. Well,
at least in the other part, they managed to, like, a lot happened. You know what I mean? In part 4, they started within the heist and they didn't leave. You know what I mean? There was literally no movement.
Yeah, so part 4 majorly is the conflict between the characters themselves against Gandia. And that's...
Oh, not Gandia. Gandia.
Got your number.
Gandia.
But yeah, you're ridiculous. That was the sort of plot for this season. And at least they did make some developments in terms of trying to fight back against the government and in terms of...
But they did that in part 3. Aikido. Remember the Japanese military technique?
Not to the extent of what they did in this season, because this now they've actually exposed the misbehavings of the government and top officials to the press and to the public.
Okay, yeah, I get that.
And that's a big thing. That wins people back to them, because at the end of season 3, we saw them firing a missile or bazooka to a tanker, and people, they were worried that they've lost sort of the public opinion. And once you lose that, then you're slightly weaker. And you could see they still had them, especially when Lisbon was leaving, was being transferred.
Yeah.
And people were just swarming all over her.
Yeah.
The scenes, man.
It was a beautiful moment.
It was like Princess Diana was walking down there, mate.
Oh, may she rest in peace.
May she rest in peace.
But yeah, like even the layers of it, because when you think about it, it was kind of like a game of Jenga, which is a Swahili word, is it not?
Yeah, for build. Yeah. Stealing everything, mate. Our words.
Well, it means nothing because she's not there anymore.
Oh.
Damn, dog.
Man.
But in regards to like taking the corrupt government down, there were layers of it. There was chipping away at the layers of it, because you had Alithia, and she was more than happy to, you know, accept responsibility, but she was not going to let Tamayo get away with any like absolution.
Yeah.
Right? So we had Alithia. We also had the lead of affairs, the bald-headed man as well. So they were the first to fall. And Alithia is like, fuck this shit. You are coming down with me. Right? So she was the one to topple the top.
Yeah. And the fact that she became more effective in her 20-minute stint of being unemployed and being chased, of being a fugitive, she did more to catch the professor than she did while in the tent.
Well, that's just an easy one, because Professor's an idiot. He's not a genius.
Oh my gosh. He is a genius. Can you stop with that? Katie has this preconception that the professor isn't a genius.
Mate.
Just because of some stupid writing here and there and stupid plot holes. That's not the professor's fault.
That is the fucking foundational qualm when you center the intellect of the protagonist. Because that means for the story to continue, they need to be dumb. In some cases, like Schofield from Prison Break, right? And that's the problem you have when you have a smart character and the whole premise of the show is based on how smart they are.
But you also have smart people elsewhere. It's not just him in a vacuum.
How about when Angel followed him to his cidery? That was fucking stupid. How about when El Professor put his fingers all over the cop car? That was fucking stupid too. And that was very early on, babe.
Yeah.
You thought we were just part 4 La Casa de Papel watchers? Well, you were fucking wrong. We've been there since the start of Money Heist.
True. There's some stupid mistakes that he makes.
Also, with Alicia, if you've watched any sort of cop movie, cop TV show, once they remove the cuffs of rules, it's all guns blazing. That's where all of the work happens, where they don't have the restrictions of the law.
Well, she wasn't even following the law in the first place. She was pretty much bending every rule there is.
Yeah, but just give me a second to put on my tinfoil hat. But all governments have some dodgy side branch that they choose not to acknowledge. But that's where the real results come through.
Oh, man.
Your Guantanamo Bays, all of your little... Come on, OT.
Why you
I'm going to be Alicia. You're going down with me, OT Tamayo.
All right.
There's some shady shit going around the world.
Of course, there's shady things that go around the world that people who have been given.
They pretend that they don't know what Alicia and all of them are doing, but it's getting the results that they want. And that was the whole point that she wanted to point out in that press conference.
Yeah, true. I understand. And I'm with her. Like I didn't really warm to her character in the 3rd season.
I did.
But
I thought she was fun.
But by the end of part 4, I had felt her pain, especially when she started describing, she told us about her partner's
her husband dying, yeah.
Yeah. I was like, fucking hell, mate. She's been carrying this, like not even telling anyone.
2 months, that's really recent.
Really recent. And the fact that no one she worked with knew.
And even after, Tamayo still wanted to pin all the dirt on her.
Well, at that point, she'd done most of the dirty work anyway, so...
Damn, dog.
It was just the obvious choice.
So you're saying if this podcast ever gets cancelled, you're just going to let me take all the blame?
Oh, for sure.
But I'll just get out of the way. That's a Boondocks reference, friends and lovers.
Oh, bloody hell. Yeah. Okay,
But
Riley.
Alicia was effective. I feel like whenever we watch something and the characters are effective, even if they're hateable, we kind of respect them. Except for Asha from Spartacus. But mostly, if someone's competent in what they're doing, we usually we respect them at least to some sort of point.
Yeah.
I liked Alithia because obviously she was pregnant, but she had her sweets and her lollipops and stuff. She reminded me of an anime character. And I think I mentioned that in part 3 as well, but she reminded me of an anime character. So I think it was fun. It was fun to watch her operate, especially because she was kind of the equivalent of Raquel, right? Once Raquel left, she kind of filled that spot.
Yep.
And to see her be so effective.
Without having to pull her hair up, yeah?
Because her hair was already up, my friend. Right?
Yeah.
I loved how she was going off the grid and all she did was put her hair down, but her hair looks exactly the same.
Put your hair down on glasses, mate. That's a completely different person.
A reverse Clark Kent. If you're nasty.
Yeah.
Oh, but she was very effective. I enjoyed watching her operate. And she obviously everyone has like weaknesses within them, but she was formidable.
Yeah.
She was fucking formidable and I loved watching her.
But you know what? With her strength also comes like I didn't really appreciate what she did to Rio.
Yeah.
No matter how many results you gotta get, mate, that was some borderline crazy.
And how he had no visible scars, and it was very measured.
Very measured, very measured, and it was so surprising when Tamayo was talking to her, telling her, "Oh, just take the fall, you do it," and she was taking it and accepting it. I was a surface level. I was like, "This is so against the character."
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And then she went out to the press conference.
Yeah, yeah. She didn't leave us hanging for too long. She She just fell back to how we know she is.
Oh, but she's great.
I wouldn't say great, but yeah, she's alright.
She's the Raquel that all of the wet dreams think about. She girdles my loins. Need I go on?
So who do you want to go to next?
I think we might as well go to Tokyo, your best friend.
Bloody hell, Tokyo. She wanted to be the leader of this group.
But just because you want to be the leader doesn't mean you're effective as a leader. And you know what? And we were talking about this when we were watching part 4 as well. There's been zero character development with Tokyo. She's still
the same Tokyo we started off with in season 1.
Yeah, she's indulgent. She always wants to be the center of attention. She's not balanced. She's not even tempered. And she literally does whatever the fuck she wants.
Yeah.
Usually sexually. She's a Maserati. As Denver. Oh, Denver.
Almost got it.
Do you remember we watched the English dub and they tried to do the laugh? That was fucking terrible. Voice actor that does Denver for the English dub.
Yeah, that wasn't right.
Fuck, man. And if people say Money Heist was bad and they're watching the English dub, that's on you, motherfuckers. But with Tokyo, the biggest example that just completely proves that she's terrible and she's not effective as a leader was when we had Gandia come back to life, right? And Helsinki's like patching him up and she's so fucking emotional.
Yeah.
Which is understandable. I get it. It's understandable. However, in that very same scene, we see Denver. And he handled that scene like
a true champ.
A true champ. Second to none. Right? And we said this, I think, in the part 3 episode about how Denver would be a very effective leader.
Yeah.
And that became more apparent. And I definitely want to talk about Denver, but let's continue talking about Tokyo for a moment. Gandia also made a comment after Tokyo kind of implied he was gay. He kind of threw it back on Tokyo saying she's gay as well.
Yeah.
I think Tokyo is just a very sexual person.
Yeah, she's fluid, mate.
I don't even know if she's fluid. I think she's just very sexual.
I think she can swing wherever the wind blows.
Or she's as fluid as Palermo. Or even Berlin.
Yeah, Berlin. Yeah. Yeah. Weird.
Like I don't know if Palermo is like, I think Palermo just loves Berlin. Whatever label that is, he just loves Berlin.
And I think he has some feelings for Helsinki as well.
Yeah, you're right. And they did have that little moment. But was there anything else you wanted to say about Tokyo? I feel like we've talked about her a lot in all the other episodes, though.
Yeah, I feel like I was just disappointed in how she handled it because I'm in the Tokyo camp and I love Tokyo, but she wanted to be a leader and then things went haywire and she didn't deal with them properly. And the fact that she even went against or said some really bad shit about the professor when they were patching up Gandia.
Yeah.
Like the professor doesn't care or he's just a robot. He's
no,
not
I
even...
agree with that.
Come on now.
The professor doesn't know what it's like to be in the trenches.
Because he's busy pulling the strings.
Mate, even Raquel is getting in on this.
Oh, I can't even, man. You just need to be with Tokyo on this and just put you out of the show, mate.
I just defended Tokyo, so that just proves I'm being very balanced about my opinions.
Clearly not.
Yeah, but we've talked about Tokyo, and again, because she hasn't had much character development, there's no need to continue talking about her. Is there anything else you want to say about El Profesor?
Oh, I like him. Like you could see how much.
We know you like him. That's very clear.
You could see how much he hurt when Lisbon was killed, or he thought Lisbon was dead.
I think more of that was just pride because he's not a genius and his plan failed. I think.
And kudos to Tokyo for actually making Professor realize that Lisbon might be alive.
Exactly, he's dumb. How
it's
can
emotional.
Genius...
If I was the same end, if I was at the end of that call, I would actually think you're
dumb
dead.
Too. You're both dumb, touching police cars and shit, making your own little cideries. Oh, Come on. If he's a genius, how does he not know that? Or are you saying he was just so heartbroken?
You're so heartbroken.
I will give you a succession. Fuck off. You can fuck off out of here. Yeah. Like I didn't care for it. It would have been nice. Because we know this is Netflix, so it's going to continue till the cows come home. It would have been nice to see El Profesor in there. So it didn't happen here. Maybe it will happen in the next part. But he needs
what would
to
he
be there.
doing? What would he be doing inside? You need somebody outside.
What was he doing
everything.
outside?
He was helping with the plans.
Marcel did everything.
How do you think Lisbon escaped?
Excuse me. And why the fuck did we need a montage of him boxing?
To show us that he was hot and he would do anything to fight for his feelings and what he believed he needed to do. I respected that. And the fact that he could go toe to toe with Marseille, come on now.
No, he could not. That made no sense. That's like a death. Is it death battle?
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If you do the calculations, he wouldn't have even come close to Marcel.
Marseille.
All right. Settle down.
You need to watch these things.
Pull your glasses up, but keep your pants down.
They're always down.
And let's continue. But yeah, like El Profesor, like I didn't need to see him boxing is all I'm gonna say.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough.
They should have given me a warning and told me to have a bucket so I can vomit. Speaking of, Netflix have, or every sort of entertainment has classification sort of guides, right? And it gives you like warnings. In Itaewon Class, they had smoking as one, which I thought was interesting. But for one of the episodes of Money Heist, one of the warnings was nudity.
I think for all of the episodes, there's a nudity warning. And I'm like, mate, there's zero nudity in this.
And I think the comment you made while we were watching it was Netflix clearly don't know what nudity is. Because all we saw, unfortunately, it was also because the lady was being assaulted, but we just saw her titties in a bra. We didn't even see areolas, let alone nipples. So, you know, don't pretend to be Showtime, you know? If
or
you're
HBO,
not going to... Yeah, or HBO, if you're not going to give us the goods. Consensually. Well, if we're talking about Professor, we might as well talk about Lisbon. Did you feel like she was going to crack under pressure?
She was going to crack.
Yeah, I think she definitely...
She was going to crack.
And that's the problem. If you're going to live a life of crime, don't have collateral.
Yeah. Get rid of your baby. Get rid of your parents. Get rid of any familial ties.
Yeah.
And be free, mate. They won't be able to come for you for shit.
Get rid of your pets. Get rid of the nice neighbor that you get groceries for sometimes. Just get rid of everyone.
Everyone.
And just erase all memory. And then you can go full John Wick.
Yeah, but she was seconds away from breaking if it wasn't for Anton Ansans or whatever the fuck that name is.
Anton Ansas? It sounds like a Evanescence cover band.
You're welcome.
Wake me up inside. Oh God. This episode has as many irrelevant English songs as the fucking part 4. She was definitely going to crack. And I like that. And then we saw once Alethea got dismissed, that's what she said. She's like, I don't fucking get it. I've been an inspector for 15 years. I know when someone has cracked it. What the fuck happened? Yeah. Ooh, she's effective. You do not want to get on her bad side.
For sure.
But yeah, she was definitely going.
This kind of shows you hate seeing competent lawmakers. Like, fucking hell.
Get out.
Get out. Not only the bad guys have competent people. Everyone else should be dumbass.
Well, it's interesting, right? Because it depends on who we're rooting for in the narrative, because it becomes relative, right?
Yeah.
Because, arguably you could say, you know, the Dale, the Dale gang are the bad guys, but in actual reality, they're kind of shaking the establishment.
Yeah.
So that kind of makes them good guys.
Oh, for sure.
And that's why you have all of the protesters out as well, even though they got tear gassed in part 3. Yeah.
And Alicia reminds me sort of Mahone in Prison Break.
But she's much better than Mahone.
No, Mahone was next kind of level smart, mate.
Mahone kind of became that detective in the Monster anime. Denma.
Someone's farted. Denma.
We watch anime too, friends and lovers, if you didn't know.
Oh, bloody hell. But the good thing with Alicia is that she's fucking beyond competent.
Oh, yes.
And it makes it for a better thing because I think Professor has sort of lacked a bit of competition in that area.
Oh, you're going to say competence. I'm like, yeah.
And it's time to see how the gray cells sort of match it out.
Yeah, I get that. I
Yeah.
can see that. It makes it more tantalizing because you want to have a worthy adversary.
Oh, yeah.
I'm looking right at mine.
Oh, why are you looking at Theo?
Oh, I was going to say ready for the plucking, but
Ah.
but maybe not. Let's move on to 3 characters because they kind of interconnect with each other. We have Rio, Denver, and Monica.
Oh.
We can kind of tie them up together.
So, part 4, Monica is fucking hateable, at least
yes.
for me.
Oh yes,
Okay,
they didn't know what to do with her character. I think.
mate, you know who Denver is.
Yeah,
You know who Arturo is.
yeah.
So at the end of, well, was it at the end of part 3 where Arturo managed to come in back into the,
Yeah.
and Monica was there promising her, oh, you'll get to see your son or
Yeah.
whatever. I'm like, fucking hell, mate.
Idiot.
This guy is a low-life piece of shit
Yeah.
who was ready to abandon you when you're preggers.
He said to get rid of the baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And here you are promising the fucking world. And then when Denver finds out about this, not even from Monica herself,
Yeah.
from Arturo,
Ugh.
and then Arturo tells him that he rubbed his boner all over her as well. Fucking hell. What guy won't be pissed off and want to beat the other guy, punch the lights out of the other person?
And that's what I don't fucking get. And again, this is a problem that I had in part 3. All of the women characters suddenly became annoying Twitter feminists. Like any sort of, like even just a man breathing was a stake against feminism. And that fucking pissed me off because they had some distorted sense. And you can see that very clearly from Monica, right? Because she was treating Denver like he was operating with some sort of toxic masculinity. And it's like, nah, lady. Like, I didn't have a dick, but if someone was rubbing up against, like, my partner, I wouldn't be happy either.
Yeah. What the fuck did you expect Denver to do?
Yeah. He was provoked as well.
Yeah. He kept on pushing it.
Yeah.
And Arturo knew what he was doing. And the fact that Monica was so fucking blind to even see that.
Yeah.
Oh, far out, man.
But she fucking begged to come on this trip.
She begged. Denver told him.
Yeah.
Denver told her.
There's some ugly shit that's gonna happen here.
Don't come.
This is real life stuff.
And to make even matters worse with the fucking hypocrisy, she goes on and pretends to be some fucking badass and starts pinching Gandhi's balls.
Who doesn't want to pinch Gandhi's balls, to be honest? Isn't that how you reach enlightenment? We're going to hell. Robot Jesus, please help us.
Yeah, I was just not her biggest fan this season.
Oh,
like,
no.
she annoyed the hell out of me.
If you don't know what to do with a character, leave them at home. I felt like she was just there and they needed to give her some lines because it made no sense.
Well, the only thing that she did was give Rio a shoulder to cry on.
Yeah, but that's weird as shit because even before she
Bare feet, actually.
even before she offered a consoling shoulder, Denver actually man to man tried to console him. And then Monica was like, he doesn't want to talk about it. Don't ask him about it. And then she asked him about it. Fuck off.
Yeah.
It's like, well, how about Rio's bonus?
Yeah, I did not appreciate her at all in this. Like, fuck's sakes.
And what really bothered me, so yeah, she's shit, and we get that. Cool. So I get that. But everyone turned against Denver. And they were making it very clear that Denver was in the wrong. Even with Bogota, and I like Bogota. He's got 7 kids, motherfucker. Like, who are you to give advice? But anyway, like, he was telling Denver that he was in the wrong.
Not necessarily in the wrong, just how to play it right. Like, if you see someone coming at you angry, don't say shit. Just accept it. Fucking apologize for whatever it is you're apologizing for. And then you can later come out and speak your truth once they're all settled.
And when are you going to learn that lesson, mate?
I still need to rewatch this season a few more times before I get there.
Hey, if you want to be punished, just strap in. Or strap on. Not for this show, though.
And Rio.
He went through some shit, though. I don't think it was in his best welfare for him to be there, though.
No, it wasn't. But
shouldn't El Profesor be so smart and assess that and make sure he doesn't come back to there? Because that wasn't good for his mental health.
There's nowhere else he could go, to be honest.
He can go back to his parents.
Well, he's a criminal, so...
But he's forever the weak link.
Yeah, a lot of the problem started with his weakness. Especially the part where he let Gandia walk away, and Denver was like, shoot anyway. You don't even have to fucking shoot him. Shoot him in the head. Shoot him. No head. Shoot him on the leg. Shoot him near his feet. Shoot in the fucking air for all I care. Yeah. Just bloody shoot.
But even Palermo said, like, this guy's the weak link. Remember when he was talking to Gandia and he's like, now's your chance.
Yeah, and that's where Denver was sort of vindicated, because he said, I fucking told you this guy is fucking traumatized.
Yeah, but no one
was listening to it. Yeah. Not even fucking Monica, who had the story. Oh, bloody hell. Ridiculous, isn't it?
I wish Monica would give me a boner. She gave me the opposite.
What's the opposite of that?
All of my genitals just crawled up to my stomach.
Self-pleasure is key, mate.
Yeah, it's Sigourney's next sequel.
Wow. It reminds me of the alien scene. I don't know if you remember that. Like the alien.
I haven't watched it.
Oh, okay. Moving on.
Add that to the KT bingo of things I haven't fucking watched. Let's move on. They just pissed me the fuck off. Let's talk about Palermo.
Oh.
Let the money heist take you over Palermo.
Helsinki, Bogota, Berlin.
Wow. I love us.
Okay, so he's a genius. He's pretty much on the same level as...
Well, yes, in this case, but stop using the word genius. Are you going to call Jaden Smith a genius too?
Oh, he's a legend. He's an icon living.
But Will Smith is an icon chilling.
He's well, Berlin said that he's a genius. He is the same as Professor.
Oh yes.
And Professor, in as much, called him a genius numerous times in this season. So who are we to dispute that?
Yeah.
We could see that he actually relies on Palermo to come up with plans when he can't think clearly.
But I think Palermo has a lot of practical skill. For all of the intellect that El Professor has, see, character development on Katie, I can acknowledge intellect in El Professor. A lot of it is based in theory. Right? And sometimes it's good to have a leader that is not just strategic like El Professor, but sometimes it's good to have a leader that's tactical. And that's what Palermo is.
Yeah.
Like if your plan completely falls to shit, he can find a way to regroup from that. El Professor kind of has a whole complex and he has to reboot a couple of times before he comes back to normal. But what really annoyed me was, there were moments with the boom boom chow and all of the women were like, I don't like him and all of this sort of shit. But it was fucking effective.
He was effective.
And like in life, I feel like intention is very important. Like, sometimes you can say things in a joking sort of way, or you can say things in a hurtful sort of way. Palermo just struck me as one of those people that just like getting a rise out of people.
Yeah.
He just like getting a reaction out of people. And he managed to get it every time because they fell for it every time.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't think there was anything malicious about Palermo. Aside from the way he treated Helsinki, but that's another story.
I wouldn't say malicious. Like, they know who he is as a character, and even more so, they know that he'll do anything to get his way. If he feels like he's not the leader, he'll find a way to sabotage or cause chaos so that he can rise up and continue leading. So they all are aware of this.
But you also ignore the fact that Tokyo staged a coup.
Yes, and that's what
for
I'm
no
wondering.
reason.
That's what I'm wondering, why the professor didn't tell the rest of the people, like, mate, you need to keep Palermo happy. Just make sure that he thinks he's the leader. Keep him there. Follow whatever the fuck he
But
wants
he
to say.
knows best in this scenario.
Yeah, he does know. Yeah, but then again, the problem is the chaos he's caused. He didn't really think about it too much or what the effect would be.
He did. I think he said he underestimated the emotional effect.
Which is weird because when Berlin was casing the joint earlier,
Yeah.
Berlin told him, we need to kill this guy because he will be a problem.
Candia.
Yeah. So the fact that Palermo was still sort of underestimating the sort of chaos he'd be able to cause is ridiculous.
No, it makes sense. He's smart, a savant, if you're nasty.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't have emotional intelligence.
I guess
That's
so.
very clear. Any sort of semblance of humanity he had was through Berlin. He didn't really gauge sort of any emotional sort of situations.
Yeah.
He kind of used people as playthings. Helsinki in particular.
Yeah.
Right? But it's just annoying. Like, and that caused more episodes. Like, these 8 episodes could have been 3 episodes, if I'm concerned.
Wow.
I fucking love these characters, so yes, I will watch it. But reward me. Don't punish me. Because OT does that, and it's most pleasurable. Right? But yeah, it's like, and you know what? Like, when we get to part 5, because obviously they're going to be able to successfully carry out the heist.
Yeah.
Obvious. It's going to happen. They're going, because then what else is this show, right? They all die in there. That's sad. So they're all going to successfully pull off the heist. That means that Palermo is more smarter than El Profesor. Because they made it very clear, starting from part 3, that this plan was riskier. That's why they went to La Casa de Papel, the House of Paper. That's why they did that first, because it was more guaranteed, there were less variables, and they could be able to execute that quite well.
Yeah.
Right? And this plan was volatile. It was unpredictable. All of the odds were against them. They were fucking scuba diving for their gold. Right? There was a lot fucking going on in part 3 and part 4. So, by that admission alone from El Profesor, once this heist is carried out, Palermo should be the be-all, the end-all, the omniscient everything.
I don't know about that. He's a bit too much of a wild card for that.
Yeah, but he's effective though. He was very reminiscent of Berlin, because that's the way they treated Berlin. They treated him as some sort of dictator.
Yeah.
But he made the hard decisions, and that's what you need from a leader. You don't need someone that in their distorted sense loves everyone like Tokyo, because I mean you become too emotional, right? You need someone that cares enough but can remove themselves in order to make the right decisions.
True.
And that's what Palermo was.
True. I agree.
Let's talk about Helsinki and Bogota.
Wow, the love for Nairobi, goes beyond. And the fact that Bogota had just got into the box, mate. And then Nairobi dies. He was feeling away.
Oh yes.
And the fact that he was the one to beat up Gandia when he tried to run away, I was like, yes.
It's like, this is your moment.
This is your therapy, mate.
Because he had the gun there.
Yeah. It was good to see that. At least he's beat him into a pulp to get it out of his system. But I felt sad for him. I felt more sad for Helsinki, though, just because of the sort of friendship. Because it transcended your ordinary sort of relationship love that you crave for.
This ain't no ordinary love.
Okay, Sade.
Why are you caressing the what the fuck is this called? Robot Jesus arm?
Oh, but wow. I love him. He's a solid character. He's reliable. it was kind of stupid that he'd see blood on the floor with the book when he was chasing after Gandia. And then
There was no blood, and then there's
there
blood.
was no blood, and then all over a sudden there's a spill of blood, droplets of blood, and a book there, and it's still just heading there as if there's. I'm like, mate, mate, can you not see this?
Yeah.
Go the other fucking way, or just call other people to back you up.
Yeah, exactly.
But he almost died, and I was like, mate, if you lose Oslo and then Helsinki, where the fuck are we going to go with this?
I don't think they'll do that. Surely not.
Yeah. Hopefully not. Hopefully not for a long time.
They always like to have emotional deaths. So, do you want to have a cute little guess of who you think might die next season?
Oh, it must be someone that without too much relies on story wise.
It can't be Denver.
It definitely wouldn't be Denver.
But Denver would break me.
I would say it would be Rio. Rio can die and would be sort of sad, but it wouldn't crush anything too much.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, he's been through a lot. Like, how much of a normal life can he have after this?
Yeah. Well, who would you say?
Especially because he broke up with Tokyo. So stupid. Wrong time, mate.
Oh, how do you break up with a Maserati? Yeah?
Oh, wow. Did that hit with you, that example?
It did.
What kind of car am I?
Rolls Royce, mate.
Oh, thanks. That means I only get driven by old white men?
You call me an old white man all the time, so if the shoe fits.
You don't need to tell them what we get up to, OT. Oh, but Helsinki has been solid from the start, and I'm glad that he has more dimension, because it's very easy just to be like the big muscle guy with a beard, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm glad we got a bit more dimension to Helsinki. He had that sort of meaningful moment with Palermo, but I didn't really care for that.
Yeah, I cared for it. Like, it shows at least he has feelings for someone on there. Like, I don't know. I appreciated it. I appreciated it definitely more than you did then.
Oh, yes. But that's every case. Okay. Anything else you want to say about Bogota?
No.
I think he's fine. I think he's a solid character. They needed to fill the cast out. So, cool. I like that his name is Bogota.
Well, at least he was there to offer sort of relationship advice to Denver.
But he's just there.
And he was there at least for Nairobi.
What's his specialty though?
At least he gave Nairobi love that Nairobi needed.
Yeah. He is an expert in metallurgy, metal, I guess.
He's an expert in metals, eh?
I suppose. So there you go. Oh, we also have Oslo's friend, who's also Manila's dad, with their crew of miners. That was pretty cute.
Yeah, that was cute.
And it brought a bit more dimension to the world as well.
Yeah.
Berlin.
I love to see Berlin every time. He just does it. Like,
I'm glad they're Vera Farmigering him.
yeah,
So
me too.
even though he's technically dead, we still see him in the show.
Yeah, we see him. I thought we saw him more than most of the characters that are in the bunk anyway.
Good.
Which is good because Berlin is a very, very solid character. He's a good actor. There's nothing he can do that will just disappoint me, I don't think.
I pretty much cried or laughed every time he was on the screen.
Yeah. And I'm not the biggest fan of flashbacks or anything, but man, Berlin just makes it easier.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's very effective. It's very effective, indeed. And there was a lot. And then we got to see him with Tatiana. There was also a very intense, emotional, romantic moment between him and Palermo.
Yeah. And good for them. You know?
Sometimes you can love someone, but you just can't be with them.
Yeah.
Whether it be circumstance or whatever the fuck it is. And it was made very clear that Berlin loves Palermo.
Oh.
He even said that. He's never experienced the depth of love that he has with any woman he's ever been with. But he just can't be with him. Yeah. And I think that's...
Just because of 1% due to mitochondria.
Yeah. Oh, hello there.
Yeah, welcome to OT Biology 101, mate.
You had us, and then you left us, unfortunately. But yeah, it's rounding out a lot more of the story. And one of the best moments in part 4 were with Berlin and El Profesor.
Mm.
Like just their little bickering and their little sort of brother moments. I fucking loved it.
Yeah, it definitely makes this season better.
Because I think there was El Profesor was talking about is life heavier or is death heavier? I think that was quite some interesting themes that were being explored. But let's quickly do a speed round. We've already talked about Arturo.
Mm-hmm.
He's always been gross.
He's always been gross.
But like
him raping someone.
Quaalude gross?
Yeah, I don't know. That seems a bit too left for his character, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, it wasn't right.
Like he veered off what we like. He's a gross person,
yeah.
But a
you would
rapey
think,
sort of gross person.
You would think there are some barriers before.
I thought there was a line like they just ruined the Arturo character in my eyes for this.
He ruined himself with his blunt scissors. Because then that dives into that's not an expert sort of behavior, right? Like it kind of denotes to like, has he done it before?
Yeah.
Like you don't just wake up one day and start quaaluding people.
Yeah, and start rubbing them up. Like I don't know. I was a fan of Arturo, and I think in the last season I said that if there's the one person you'd want in a sort of hostage situation was Arturo. Now I'm like, okay, what the fuck have you done with this guy?
Yeah,
like he was just a menace in this, just to be a menace.
Like he was,
and not even for the betterment of the group.
Still, yeah, you love to hate him, and now it's like spoiler for the boys, but it's kind of like the Deep. It's like once you do that to the character,
there's no way you're coming back from that.
Exactly.
Fucking hell! Like you could go anywhere with that character, and the fact that Arturo in the previous season was that annoying because he was looking out for himself specifically, but at least in that sort of self-interest, it will also benefit the hostages.
Yeah.
But in this, it's just, all right, I've brought myself into this situation, and then what? I want to bust a nut, and then that's it?
Yeah, I know.
Bloody hell. Get out of town, Netflix. Who the fuck wrote that character like that? Because in that, you have Arturo, who's sort of wonky and weirdly, and he's gotten fame through this. Yeah. And of course, he's still chasing that sort of fame to have something to write and talk about once he gets off. But this sort of completely destroys that in that after that, he's
You've just ruined him.
Yeah.
You've used all you can use with his character.
Yeah, I was not a fan of that. I did not appreciate that. And that's it for Arturo, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully.
Which is fucking annoying.
Like, hopefully. Because sometimes it's nice to have characters that you hate, you know?
Yeah.
But this is too much.
Yeah. Quaalude and touching up people is just
all of the things that the female characters got angry at Palermo about is what Arturo was.
Yeah.
Or what he turned into, essentially. Let's talk about Mercedes.
Oh, ever reliable Marseille, is it?
Yeah. Our Nikolai Costa-Waldo from Croatia.
Yeah. I guess he's the sort of muscles in this.
Yeah.
But he bonds with the professor throughout this sort of journey, and he sort of tries to understand the sort of pain the professor is going through, gives him sort of advice, plays some music in his stolen car, and then apologizes for it because it was a teeny bopper sort of song. But he's fun.
His dog.
Yeah.
It was funny in that scene because Mercedes was trying to console El Profesor, and he's talking about how he lost his dog. And at the start of the scene, El Profesor was kind of offended that he would even compare, you know, his love to a dog. And then by the end of the scene, Mercedes is explaining how much he loved the dog and how the dog died. And El Profesor got emotional and he felt it as well. It was very John Wick-esque. But Mercedes was great. And I think it's also because you think about the gang that's inside, right? But there are other mechanisms that happen outside that make everything possible.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we finally see that exemplified through Mercedes, because with El Profesor, we didn't see that happen.
Ridiculous.
Well, Angel never caught Mercedes.
True. But yeah, he's a solid character.
And can I just say, before we recorded this episode, we were playing the remix of Bella Ciao, and we felt like Mercedes in his car bumping the music.
That was a funny scene.
It was good. It was very effective. It was the David Copperfield plan.
Not exactly David Copperfield, because I for some reason thought that the 4 guards who were transporting Lisbon wouldn't notice that she was gone. I was like, what the fuck? How would they do that?
Yeah.
Only for them to beat them up and tie them with bombs. I was like, this is not necessarily David Copperfield.
It wasn't
mate.
swift. Yeah.
But there
It
you
was
go.
kind of brute.
Yeah.
There wasn't any sort of finesse to it.
Yeah, that was more David Brassfield, mate.
Let's quickly talk about some other characters. Tamayo, I'm glad he has some sort of comeuppance.
Yeah. Oh, his comeuppance are going to be good.
The castle needs to crumble.
Yeah. It'll just be a house of fallen cards, and he'll be right up there in the mix.
Hopefully.
There's no escaping that for sure.
It was nice to see Suarez again.
Oh, yeah. And just before we move to Suarez, like, you remember when they were like staging the sort of false scene of trying to making them think that Gandia is escaping through the roof?
Yeah.
And there was just Tamayo trying to wonder, where's the helicopter going? Come on, bring it back. Everyone else in the room had realized what was happening, but Tamayo was so caught up in the moment, he had it, which was hilarious.
Oh, yeah. And Angel was the one to tell him.
Yeah. Oh, bloody hell.
That's it. I just wanted to say it was nice to see Suarez again.
Yeah. It's an ever-coming presence. He reminds me of the good cop in Narcos. Who was killed off by...
Oh, yes.
What was his name?
Amarillo. No, that's yellow in Spanish. Camarillo?
I can't remember. There was this cop who
Yeah, but
bend
we all
to...
know. Yeah.
Yeah.
And actually, Narcos is a very good example of... Because you notice it was two or three seasons of Pablo Escobar. And that was it. They didn't keep doing Pablo Escobar. And then they moved on to Narcos Mexico with Felix.
Oh, Felix.
I think I did the Spanish pronunciation and not the Mexican.
Yeah.
Felix. Feliz Navidad.
Okay, mate.
Oh, God. We're going to lose all our Spanish listeners now. But, they had sections of Narcos. You know what I mean? I'm getting worried for La Casa de Papel.
Yeah.
Because I told you, it got up to a point, especially in one of the slower episodes in part 4, it felt like, Money Heist part 10.
Yeah, hopefully Netflix just, there's only so much they can go with this. They definitely tried to stretch it in this season, but I enjoyed it nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure how long that would run for though. So hopefully they've got an end in sight for this, and let just great shows be that and end it at that. You don't need to be Homeland with fucking 10 seasons, which I didn't even know it had.
10 seasons?
8 seasons, whatever the fucking season they are on right
How
now.
How much adventures can that red-headed man
There's only
get
so
into?
much that lady could run now, because at the start of the season in Homeland, she was pretty much broken down already.
Oh my
At season 8, she should be a walking carcass now.
Right.
And transitioning into Walking Dead or some shit. I don't know.
But I think that's the problem that we have with shows, especially with I haven't watched The Walking Dead, but I imagine, part of the excitement is, are they going to make it out alive? If you have 8 fucking seasons of The Walking Dead, where's the attention? You're having kids and having colonies, right?
Yeah.
Where's the tension? And it's kind of, unfortunately, for me personally, I enjoyed some aspects of part 4, but I definitely didn't feel the way that I wanted to feel in part 1 and part 2, unfortunately.
Fair enough.
And it hurts. It hurts because I fucking love this show so much, and this show means a lot to our podcast as well. But La Casa de Papel is like sex. Sometimes it's just normal sex, and sometimes it's part 1 and part 2 sex.
Yeah, we'll take part 1 and part 2 sex. The first cut is the deepest.
And that just gives you an insight into our sex. Let's just finish off. Since we're speaking about sex, that can also mean love as well. This was a nice quote from Raquel when she was getting interrogated by Alithia. And she said, even if you were reincarnated 7 times, you would never understand our love.
For sure.
And, even if you've listened to our podcast more than 7 times, we fucking love you.
Love you indeed.
Stick it where it feels good, friends and lovers. Usually, if we've covered something before, we mentioned what we already referenced.
Mm-hmm.
This is the segment we call For Your Reference. We usually recommend TV shows or movies that you haven't watched before if you enjoyed La Casa de Papel. And usually if we've done it before, we'll just mention ones that we've done before, and you can feel free to add on to it, OT. Last time you mentioned Prison Break.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned Gomorrah and Dirty Money.
Yeah, I'm not going to change anything from that, apart from the fact that we watched La Casa de Papel after watching 81 Class, also on bloody Netflix.
Also, international foreign language.
Yes, I am recommending that. I cannot recommend that more than that. Like,
Wow!
Taking up all my slippers and feet and whatever off my legs.
You've got detachable feet.
Yes.
People don't even know if you're real, and you're saying
If
you don't even
Katia
have real
can
feet.
bloody take off a fucking mechanic vagina, I can take off my feet.
Oh, life would be so much easier if we had detachable genitals. Can I just say?
Oh, yeah.
Could we swap?
Yeah, you
Or it
could.
doesn't- maybe you get like an adapter. You know how you have USB-C and you have a USB?
Or you could get
Maybe you get like an adapter
They
with
use
your
universal
genitals.
adapters and just use whatever suits your mood.
If this was the first time you've listened to For Your Reference, you are most fucking welcome.
Yeah, but what, mate? 81 Class, it's bloody brilliant. 16 episodes of pure gold.
Wow.
Yup.
Look at
And
you.
it should be our next episode if I'm not wrong, is it, Katie?
Oh, we haven't done 2 foreign in a row.
Reckon we do it, hey? Hey, mate.
Just do it. Well, there you go. So from OT, Prison Break, Itaewon Class, and from myself, Gomorrah, which we need to fucking cover
Yes.
as well, which is also foreign language.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, pull up the glasses on your genitals. We are very learned. And I also mentioned Dirty Money the first time we did Money Heist.
Oh, nice. Which has a new season on Netflix. So
It
go
does
watch
have a
it.
new season on Netflix.
Yeah.
So, not so much for Skrelly, but if you want to watch the maple syrup reserve in Canada, it also has an episode on that too. But thank you so fucking much for listening to our episode. This has felt good, OT.
It does. It does.
It has felt good. If you're feeling good, if you want us to feel good as well, follow us on Twitter and Instagram. We are For Your F1.
You can write us an email at hello@fypodcast.com.
And if you'll be so welcome, we are also on Apple Podcasts.
See ya.
Bye.